I suppose in the end, the whole of life becomes an act of letting go. But what always hurts the most is not taking a moment to say goodbye.
This is definitely not your normal video for me. I wanted to make something completely different. And the concept of death is something that I wanted to talk about since I began this channel. Also, this is actually my 50th video, which is crazy to say. And because of that, I thought it would be fitting to finally dedicate a video to this topic. Of course, if you feel uncomfortable about death, there is nothing wrong with clicking off this video. I won't be hurt by it. Anyway, this video will contain my overall thoughts surrounding the concept of death and why I believe we need to accept our inevitable fate. To start off, I am going to dive into why we fear death in the first place, because understanding that is vital to figuring out how to accept it. In addition, I will cover the benefits you get once you actually acknowledge the certainty of dying one day. Finally, the last section will be reserved solely for discussing my thoughts on the presence of an afterlife, so stick around if you want to hear that. With that said, let's get started. Before we can accept death, we must face our fears. We all fear death on some level, and for varying reasons. I think the most universal factor is the vagueness that surrounds it. Death is completely foreign to us. We can't comprehend the idea of ceasing to exist, or rather, we are afraid to. There are so many unknowns connected to the concept of death, mainly the question of whether we continue to exist somewhere else after. I will address that later, but even thinking about that makes me a little anxious. What if we don't? What if this is it? I think this fear is something instinctive. We are born like this. On top of that, we really don't face it often, which is why it grows over time. Think about it. How often do we ask ourselves, how do I feel about dying one day? I know it can be quite negative to think about, but in my opinion, it needs to be done. Beyond putting it into thought, death itself has so many negative connotations and emotions that encompass it. It marks the end of life, and especially at a young age, that is extremely terrifying. All we have experienced so far is watching others pass away, disappearing forever. On a deeper level, I think the concept of death can bring up some tough questions about where you are right now in life. Do you have big regrets? Do you enjoy how you are living out your days? Do you feel like things will never get better? It can be extremely saddening to think about never fulfilling your dreams and passing away filled with regret. Look, nobody really wants to die. We don't want life to end because this is what we know. And we don't like to think about death because it brings up a lot of other negative thoughts that we would rather not face. But we must, because I believe facing and accepting the inevitability of death is the first step to making the most out of your life. Right now, I want to challenge you to accept your fate. These are the facts. You will die one day. No matter what you do or don't do throughout your life, your time will come to an end eventually. Time is limited. You will never get this moment back. Once today is gone, it's gone for good. Once your time is up, there are no second chances. With all of this in mind, what are you going to do about it? Look, your fear will do absolutely nothing for you. If anything, it will prevent you from reaching your potential. I think it's better to just accept that, yes, one day you will die. Once you do this, you'll find a lot of benefits from it. You'll become more motivated to act. You instinctively create more urgency for yourself. The more you think about your limited time, the less you'll waste it. I think this also relates to the last day mentality. I'm sure you heard of this mindset before, where you live every day of life like it was your last. Personally, while I see the appeal, I think there are actually some holes within this method. The main issue is that not every day is going to be memorable. At least for me, I feel like I would be hard on myself if I applied this mindset every day, because I would feel self-pressure to do something special all the time, and that just isn't possible. For me, acknowledging the inevitability of death and valuing my time is enough. But what happens if you don't do this? The consequences are something you should be scared of. Complacency is a dangerous place to be in. If you don't face your fears about death, you will fall into complacency. Before you know it, decades will pass, and you'll be thinking to yourself, where did the time go? I wish I would have done more. You might not realize it now, but you can do so much in a couple years. The only problem is most of us don't take action. By facing death and accepting it, you'll give yourself that extra push needed to get going. I want to be clear though, I'm not trying to tell you that death isn't sad. Losing your friends and family won't be any easier, but that's the price of being alive. The old saying, all good things come to an end, is simple but profound. If life lasted forever, it wouldn't be special. Because of this, it is our responsibility to enjoy it while it lasts, because we really don't know what happens after. All we can do is wonder. The question, what happens after you die, will arguably be the most pondered thought for the rest of time. We all wish we knew what happens when our time here on Earth comes to a close. Or do we? See, I really don't have a stance on what happens after we pass away. And in a way, that is my answer. Simply put, I don't think we are meant to know. That's basically my whole point of this section. Yes, we can have our opinions about what might follow life, but at the end of the day, I don't personally believe that there are any guarantees. What I do know is that we have a life now, and that is what we must focus on. And I'm sure it was meant to be this way. Think about it. Would you really want to know if there was life after death? Or knowing that this is all we have? I feel like it would make being alive worse. I guess when we die, we'll finally know. But that is not something we should be thinking about now. Rather, let's prioritize what's in front of us. See each day, each moment with value and appreciation. If we continue to do this, once our final day does arrive, I don't think it will be as sad. Seeing as this is my 50th video, I want to use this moment as a benchmark and check in with you. I want to hear your overall thoughts about what I've put out so far. What do you like about my videos, and where do you think I could improve? Are there any major topics you want me to address soon? I'm really open to discussing anything that you are interested in. Also, do you enjoy the flow of my videos, or would you prefer me to make some changes to the way I structure them? In addition to listening to your feedback on this video, I plan on making a few adjustments to the way I make content, specifically on TikTok, so be on the lookout for that. With that said, I think that will be all for now. So as always, this has been Dark Horse, and I will see you in the next video.
I'm starting to believe ain't no such thing as heaven's trumpets. No after over, this is it done.